Happy Wednesday, everyone. Please let me know that you're here by just responding in the chat room, please. It's great to see some familiar names here. Looking forward to meeting new people here. Anyway, my name is Terri Armenta. I hope you can hear me loud and clear on a Wednesday afternoon. I have almost 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So Sarah is here. Thank you. I think I have pretty much everybody muted. If you want to say something to me, please do. I appreciate all that. So we're just going to have people start coming into the room here, getting everybody settled along the way. I'm going to be doing the back end of it, as I always say, chat room and answering your questions. But please unmute yourself if you do have any specific questions, and we will be on our way. I'm just, again, going to give just a little bit more time. Thank you for all attending. We do have almost 40 people who registered for this free seminar, and I wanted to do it because there's a lot of challenges that people face when trying to get a job in a forensic related position. And I think these strategies will help you if you're looking to transition from education to a forensic career, maybe a different type of sector, such as private investigations, into a forensic career. Perhaps you are working at an agency and you need to transition to a forensic career, such as a crime scene investigator, anything of that nature. I think these strategies will hopefully give you that information that you need in order to make that transition. So I'm quite excited to present this. It's accumulation of many that I have seen work, and I have seen individuals employ those strategies and have been quite successful. So, you know, they're not all 100% guarantee, but still, I think most of you, if not hopefully all, see that there is that glimmer of hope, as I call it, while you're applying for positions. And again, it is quite challenging. So, and I will go through that through the presentation. If some of you may not know who I am, my name is Terri Armenta. I am the director of the Forensic Science Academy, which is a hands-on training program located in Southern California. I am also the founder of our online training portion called Forensic Training Unlimited. And I have been doing forensic training, seminars, workshops, hands-on training, presenting in many avenues, conferences, large classrooms, other forensic organizations. Since about 2001, I started teaching then, and I just kind of fell into it. I have specific training with law enforcement agencies as well as coroner agencies. And I've had extensive training through different departments and other organizations that provide forensic related training, as well as criminal justice training. So I think that about does it for me. I'm always so curious about how everybody wants to get into a forensic role. And one of those things is I always tell students, you need to get laser focused. Exactly what type of forensic career do you want to get into, or you're studying to be, aspire to be? You know, again, I think most individuals go for crime scene investigation, but you know, the world of forensics is large. It encompasses so many disciplines. So I always say, you know, look at what is out there before you really get focused on a particular element or discipline of forensic science. So, and we'll cover some things of that nature too. And again, if you have any questions, please just raise your hand, or I know you can unmute yourself. I believe I've had that that feature turned on that you're able to do that. And I envision these things as much as an interactive type event. Again, you know, I've allotted 90 minutes. We may go over, we may not, but I want to take my time and present these items, these strategies to you so you can take notes. This will be a replay so you can review it and answer any type of questions that you may have, because I have questions for you too. You know, why did you want to get into this? You know, what kind of challenges and things like that. So let me share you my screen and we can get started. And again, I'll probably go without video because I don't like to be a distraction to you as I do all these glancing back and forth, because on the back end, I've got a couple of screens here in order to address your questions and see who's in the chat room and things like that. So let me get this going for you. And let me get this chat out of the way. Please let me know that you can see this screen, which is the start of our presentation. If somebody could say, yes, I can see it, or you can put it in the chat room.
Yes.
I always want to make sure. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So let me go blank, if you will. And I hate to do that, but sometimes I keep on looking that way. But I am still here because you'll get to see me. So one of the first things I like to tell students is, you know, as a aspiring forensic career person, you need to know exactly what you're getting yourself into, because it's not all about the TV shows. I think we all know that. We all appreciate that. And we can give some type of salute to those types of programs because it brought a new awareness, or more popular awareness, to what is out there forensically related. And it doesn't have to be always a forensic type position, but it has to have the elements of a forensic position. So for example, during this agenda, this workshop, I'm going to show you where you're able to get training, experience. It just doesn't have that word in there. So, you know, just be patient as we go through that. I'd like to say a little bit of introduction of the purpose of this workshop. I'm going to outline specific strategies, and these might be familiar to you, but you may not be employing them. So for example, students, there's a few students here in the training class that we did online as well as on site. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I think it's a big powerhouse for students, especially if you don't have the necessary experience that will showcase your skill set. So we'll go over a little bit of that. The popularity of portfolios and web pages for individuals is on the rise. Again, the workshop will address ways that you can market your career, because as a student myself, I always find it kind of funny, not haha, but one of those you're scratching your head. You know, you go through your training, you take your classes, complete the classes in order to complete whatever that is, whether it's a degree, 2-year, 4-year, a certificate, whatever the case might be. But while you're going through that, those types of entities, or perhaps higher learning environments, they don't show you how to get a job. They don't tell you how challenging it would be. They don't provide strategies for you to excel and get yourself out there as marketing your resume, your skill set, in a sense, as yourself, right? Because positions nowadays, they are being bombarded. It's very common that you can have 3 or 4 positions open, and then there's a bombardment of 100, 200 applicants. On the flip side, you can have a position that's open for just a day or so, and then they've closed it. Why? Because they have fulfilled the amount of applicants applying to that position. So you have to be ready in the sense that you have to market your career. I'll also explore, you know, cases such as, or opportunities. Have you thought about hiring a resume writer to get your resume really focused and apply to positions? We are going to talk a little bit about job bulletins, which is a great way for you to find out exactly what is that position requiring. That's a given, but do you meet those qualifications as well? And what type of degree that you should have in a forensic to get into a forensic related position, and it varies. The advantages of training and belonging to professional organizations. And the big thing, as I said before, is, where are you going to get this experience? So we're going to talk more about that because I think that's the biggest thing. Terri, where can I get the experience? I'm not hired. I don't have this specific experience. So it's that age-old question, well, how can I get hired unless I have experience? And I don't have experience until I get hired. I think we all can relate to that. So as I said, a little bit about me. I currently teach. I'm an adjunct professor teaching criminalistics at a private university located in Los Angeles County. I've been involved in forensic training since about 2001. I said that before. I have several post certifications in crime scene investigations, fingerprints, and I've received specialized training in from various organizations and groups, including local law enforcement agencies. And I was a contributing writer to a magazine that was dedicated to coroner investigators. I've authored a few guides for students. I have a master's degree in forensic science, and I'm trying to finish up my PhD, but I think that's going to take me a little bit longer, so because of COVID and things like that. So again, that's a little bit about me. You can always find me everywhere on social media. I try to give as much information as possible and content for you. Except my goal is I want to see each and every one that is listening to me, looking at these types of things, coming to the academy or going to our online classes. I want to see them bridge over to becoming a forensic professional. So why this workshop? Because I get a ton of questions. I get a ton of inquiries about forensic science. I would say the number one question I receive is, you know what, Terri, I think I want to get into forensic science, but okay. And then when I probe further, well, what about forensic science? Well, I kind of like it because of the shows. Well, that doesn't tell me too much. So as I dive further in, sometimes students may not be aware what exactly is required in order to get into a forensic position. It's a competitive field, and I wanted to bring about, like I say, strategies or steps of ways that you can improve of getting yourself hired. Now, the job market, again, the positions are out there, but it is a challenging but not impossible way to do it. It's not impossible to do it. So you have to be a little bit of tenacious and determined and focused. That's the one. Those are probably the three elements that I find in students who are successful. I've had students who have applied to over 30 agencies and then they finally get hired. I've had students who have applied to one agency and they get hired. So it's just whatever that situation is and whatever, I guess what the stars are aligned and how your resume looks, your training and things like that. Because some agencies want individuals that don't have the professional training in order to train them their way. And then other agencies are looking for the seasoned individuals who have years of training. So it just depends upon obviously the job bulletin. And again, we will go over that. I love advising students. I've been doing this for a bit of time, for close to 20 years now, and it never gets old. I really mean it when I say I'm here to help in any way I can. And this was one of the ways that I could provide that help without students saying, hey, I want to do this, the training and things like that. So here we go. Here are some of the things that I think really will help focus and help you market your skill sets. As I said before, LinkedIn. If you don't know what LinkedIn is, it is a professional profiling platform that you're able to upload content of what tells about yourself in terms of your training, your education, any of the certificates you've earned, what organizations you belong to. But the greatest thing is, and I will say this again, the greatest thing is that you are able to connect with other individuals, and I don't mean just other students, but other individuals who are doing the job that you want to do. And Terri, that is important. Why? Because you want to make sure that your network is filled with individuals who can mentor you, right? And who can provide guidance to you. Now, I get a lot of individuals say, hey, Terri, I want to connect here and there and there. But my goal is I want to be able to provide you information in order to get you going where you need to go. There's a lot of individuals on LinkedIn that will do that, but my suggestion is do not connect with them unless you have a professional picture and your profile is complete. I get a lot of individuals where people don't have their pictures and their profile has nothing. Maybe some training or maybe their education, but it's not filled, it's not rich with things like, hey, I did a 200-hour training program. I've taken I took a biology or chemistry class in college. I did this. I'm aware of the different types of powders. I know the scientific method. Whatever it is to fill your profile, you need to do that, okay? I do not have a premium account on LinkedIn. I never have. And that has not stopped me from connecting with other individuals and, for other individuals to connect with me. So you need to, well, I guess you don't need to, but I highly recommend that you look on LinkedIn and you start creating your professional profile and you start networking. And once you do that, you will not say, hey, Terri, I want a job. You don't do that. I constantly get those types of requests. Hey, Terri, I want to get a job in forensic science. Do you have anything for me? Well, that's like going on a date. You don't just do that out of the blue, right? You kind of have to work up to that. And plus, it's not professional. So you don't want to do that at all. But again, before you venture off to LinkedIn, make sure you have a professional profile, a picture. And it is not like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter where you put, I walked my dog for 7 miles, or my friend and I pre-COVID went to the hamburger place, or things like that. Or, hey, look, a picture of my grandkids. It's not like that. And if you're not familiar with that, reach out to me and I can kind of give you the guidelines of the do's and don'ts of LinkedIn. And you're more than welcome to connect with me, provided that you have a professional picture, your professional profile, and it's rich with some information about you, right? Because people will be looking at that, and that's a great way for other individuals to see what you've done and what you aspire to be, and vice versa. What have they done? How can they help you? One thing about LinkedIn is you can ask for informational interviews. Well, Terri, what's that? You reach out to somebody and you say, hey, I'm interested in how you got to your present position. Do you mind if I pick your brain? Do you have any tips or suggestions for me? I would like to schedule a 20-minute call if you have time. Something like that. I just received one of those requests last Friday. And they're lots of fun on my end because you get to understand what the challenges are for people on the other side. So LinkedIn, that's one. Another thing is resume writers. If you've done your own resume, good, that's great. But my suggestion is, have you ever had it looked at or critiqued by a resume writer? Some resume writers kind of charge an arm and a leg, other ones do not. My recommendation is you should find one that is a certified resume writer. And yes, there is such a thing as a certified resume writer. I've used mine many times. And these individuals go through a different type of training, obviously, in order to be certified as a writer of your resume. But why is that important? Well, you know what you've done. You know how to list it, because I think we've all have written or created our own resumes. But here's the thing. You want to make sure that it's industry standard and it has specific keywords for that position that you're applying to. And resume writers generally will have that particular skill set. that can hone in on those keywords that will get your resume noticed. So that is important. And once you get your resume up to par, guess what? Then you can upload that to LinkedIn, and you have now 2 pieces of information that are professional for yourself to showcase your skills. So resume writer. And you should keep your resume to 1 page. I know it's difficult as you start getting, more and more experienced, but still the industry norm is about a page. It's different than your CV, which can be multiple pages, but for your resume, and most agencies will request either your certificates or of some sort, or whatever position you're applying to, keep it down to 1 page. And you say, hey, Terri, I can't, then consider looking into hiring a resume writer, because they can do that for you. Again, they will hone in on that, and they will refine your resume into a concise, more readable type manner. So I hope that makes sense. Also, here's what's up and coming: portfolios, electronic portfolios. I always tell students, if you're training in some fashion, if you have, you've gone through recent training and they've issued a certificate or anything online or anything of that manner, make sure you get a completed or at least a signed certificate, because guess what? You're going to upload that where? You're right, to LinkedIn. Also on your portfolio, it goes with you, and you can basically create a mini web page, if you will, for yourself and your skill set. Well, Terri, why is that important? Well, let me tell you. It's important because when you go into whatever position you're going into, they're going to be looking at the type of person that you are. They're going to be looking, they want to look at what you've done, your skill set. So when you're marketing yourself, not only can you point to LinkedIn, but you can also point to your e-portfolio through LinkedIn, because you can upload and direct a link there. So your portfolio should showcase any of the training you've done, picture-wise, images, summaries, anything that will give a better sense to others who are looking at your profile through your e-portfolio. And again, the e-portfolio can grow with you as you get more and more training, right? Because when you train, you're going to be taking pictures, or as I said before, documenting your training through certificates, perhaps a letter of whatever, a flyer of the training that you attended. I know with COVID-19, many of the training opportunities are now online, virtual. I know that we just ended a virtual training because of that very reason. So certificates are great, flyers are great, anything, any images or pictures that can reflect what type of training that you did, okay? So those are the first 3, LinkedIn, resume writer, and an e-portfolio. And the e-portfolio, you can do it on your own. There's Wix, there's Weebly, you can even use Google Sites. And if you're not familiar with those, please, drop me a line and we can chat about it, but they're really easy to do. They're very intuitive, and you can just upload pictures and put them in whatever theme that it's being offered to you. So that's pretty easy to do, okay? Any questions on that? Sorry, I had to take some water. Any questions? Does it make sense so far? Kind of straightforward, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Who was that?
Alana.
Okay, thank you, Alana. All right. So on to other things. Right. Okay, biggest thing. Looking for a job. Let me pose this to everybody. Who is looking for a position right now, and what type of position are you looking for to get into? So unmute yourself, just say your name, and then let us know. Let the group know what position are you currently looking for a position, and if so, what is it?
I can go. Yeah, my name's Alana, and I am looking mostly for entry-level forensic specialist or crime scene specialist in those departments.
That's usually because there's many titles to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, crimes. Yeah, so you're good. That's you know that, so that's good. Sometimes people don't know that there could be many things like Kleenex and tissue are the same thing. You know that.
Yeah.
I think good for you, and I know that you've taken some of our classes too. So excellent. Who's next?
Hi, Terry. It's Donna Sexton.
Hi, Donna.
How are you?
I'm doing well this afternoon.
Good. As you know, I want to get into fingerprint technician.
And are you looking for positions now?
I have been looking since I took the class with you last summer.
Yeah. So it's challenging. The more specific that you are, the more challenging it could be. But during this, I'm going to show you where you also should start looking. Where have you been looking? Well, let me go back to Alana. Alana, where have you been looking?
Mostly it's been like the government jobs, like sites.
Okay.
I've applied and took some tests for a couple positions, like through Downey and recently Burbank.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been like through the government job site mostly.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, Donna.
Yeah, I've looked through government sites and I've looked through Indeed.
Okay.
That site seems to be a lot, but everything on there is 3 years, you know, that you've been working for 3 years or 5 years or even 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't have that because I can't get in yet.
Right. Okay. All right. So who's next? Don't be shy. Beth?
Hi,
Hi.
it's Sandra. It's from France.
Okay.
It's Sandra Tams. I sent you a message the last time on Outlook. Yeah, and I actually wanted to do like maybe the coroner or the medical examiner job. I really don't know which one I'm going to choose actually because I'm still in medical school, and I was searching for. I was looking on the websites because right here in France, if you want to be a medical examiner, you actually have to be a physician. And I'm not a physician. I'm still in medical school. So I was interested in the coroner job or medical examiner job. So I looked on the sites of the requirements, and you have to complete medical school and you have to do some sort of internship or some things like that, you know. So for me, I'm still training, and I don't know. I really don't know if where I'm supposed to start. I really don't know. The fact that I'm in France and I actually wanted to move to an English speaking country because in the UK or in the US, the system is more open. You have dead investigators, you have medical examiners, you have coroners. But
Right.
in France, you only have what they call médecin légiste. It's a physician. It's the equivalent of the forensic pathologist. You know, so
Right.
I wanted to move to a country that actually has a broad, that has broad options for me to work there. So I'm still peddling, and I don't know. And actually, I've had one question: like, is a medical examiner always a physician?
No. So let me go back. Okay. Okay. Here in the United States, there's the two ways. There's sheriff coroner, and then there's medical examiner. So for the medical examiner, yes. Let me go back. Yes, you have to have a doctor, physician. As a sheriff coroner, that system, you're generally elected, and you don't need to have that type of qualifications. So, you know, there's pros and cons to each. For instance, here in Los Angeles County, it's the medical examiner. So that individual is a is a physician. Whereas in Orange County, here again in Southern California, it's a sheriff coroner system. So that individual does not need to have a medical degree or be a physician. So, but there's obviously physicians there in that corner system. So it just depends upon the system. And I know that you and I chatted when we did our other,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that was an issue. You know, you want to come here to the United States, and for international students, that's another challenge as well, because so first of all, some of these will apply to all students, whether you're domestic or internationally. And then there are some nuances that are beneficial and are advantageous for international students in their own countries, and as well as domestic students here. So the information being provided is a general overview. You and I should probably chat, because I know that was an issue previously, and we were trying to share my partner in crime, as I call her, we were trying to address
Yeah.
that. So yeah, that is because you want to get here in the United States. And I think because you're a medical student, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when will you be done with your medical studies?
In 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, again, let's connect, because there's a great online program that I think you would be well suited to do. It is a medical legal and death investigation course, and I believe I want to say it's 700 hours long. I think that's what it is. But you and I can put the information in the chat for you. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Again,
Because I actually did one. Course. I think I did one course in the beginning of I think of May or end of April. I think I did one course. It was a free course on crime scene, like how to manage crime scenes. I think it was 8 or 9 hours. How to manage crime scene and all the stuff. So that's what I did, and that's why I wanted to enroll in all the courses, like the training. I actually wanted to come there, like physically, and do it, because right now I'm not in the because there are 2 systems over here. You actually have the normal system where you end up and you do residency and all the stuff, but I am doing I did a bachelor of law. I did a master's of law, and now I'm doing a master's in forensic pathology. So at the end of this master, I will probably do an MG. I will do an MG, and I will be a doctor of medicine.
gotcha.
So that's why I really don't know what I'm going to do. Like, when I'm going to have that MD, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to move to the UK to be a coroner? What am I supposed to do? Because I actually have a background in law. So it's very important for me to not lose that background. That's why I didn't only wanted to be in the place of like doing autopsies and all the stuff. I actually wanted to be in a place where I can apply the law. And
Right.
for that, it's easy. I mean, being a medical examiner or being a coroner is actually the best, because you are at the midsection. It's a crossover between a prosecutor and a doctor, actually.
Yes. Now, the closest we have here are individuals who are they are a physician, and they're and a lawyer, but their medical training as a physician is directly related to their present position, and that would be, let's say, because they're practicing law, obviously, and that would be individuals that are going for malpractice, anything of that nature. So that's the closest that we could get to that would have a direct influence with their being a physician and it directly influencing them as a lawyer. So it is a specific individual or role that they have gone to medical school, graduated, and some may or may not have practiced medicine as a physician, but then they go to law school and they do that and they pass the bar and they use their medical knowledge to prosecute, defend, whatever legal lawyer type of sense of hopefully that kind of makes sense. So that's the closest we get to, because here in the United States, the medical legal investigators, the coroner investigators, death investigators, there's different names for it. They don't have that direct correlation to influence or be a major contributor when it goes to court. That's usually, they're there as a supportive role of what they've done and what they discovered during the investigation. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I see. But the coroner, he doesn't like, but normally over here, what the forensic pathologist in France, he also does, I mean, in the United States, I mean, in the other English-speaking countries, most of the time, when you say forensic pathologist, it's somebody who only does autopsies, like the forensic part, everything
Yes.
post-mortem. But
Right.
in France, when you are a forensic pathologist, you also, most of your work, actually like 80 to 90% of your work, it's about living people, like rape cases, every single thing, like rape cases, domestic violence, and all the stuff. Like all this, when somebody has that type of thing happening to them, they will actually go to, even if your child get beaten in school, you don't go to the pediatric, you actually have to go to the forensic pathologist in France.
We don't.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to the different systems that are throughout not only the United States, but internationally. So let's connect offline and see what we can do, how I can direct you. I did put in the training program in the chat room. It is, full disclosure, it's from my friend Darren Dake. Some of you may know him. He is a medical legal death investigator in Missouri, here in the United States. He has a training program, both physically on site as well as online, that you can take a death investigation course, and then you're able to sit for post-certification for that, to get credits for that. And I believe the site is deathinvestigationtrainingacademy.org. So if you look that up, and it's open, as I wrote to Cynthia, it's open to all, to students, individuals who are transitioning from perhaps maybe law enforcement to death investigation, anybody of interest, things like that. So I would strongly suggest that you look at his site offerings. If you're following me on social media, many times I will post the courses, and I can do another link. I'll send everybody a link via email to his courses, all of his courses. So again, he does it on site. He's scheduled to come to California, I believe in October, to do a 3-day training, provided that COVID will allow us, because we tried to do this in April, and guess what? I think a thing called COVID hit us, so we've rescheduled in October. And then he has online training as well on his own site. So I hope that helps. Who else who is currently looking for a job, where they've done, or any specifics?
I'll go. Sorry about that earlier.
That's okay.
I'm Beth. So I am not currently looking for a job. I'm more looking at, I mean, I just finished my freshman year in college as an undergrad. So
Excellent.
I'm kind of just looking at, I don't know exactly where I want to go, and I don't know exactly what I need to do to get there. So I guess I'm kind of just looking for any sort of guidance to get started.
So Beth, what is your major?
Biochemistry.
Oh, I love biochemistry. I'm a lab rat, try and true. I love it. That was one of my minors, so I love that class. So good for you. So are you headed more towards a crime lab or a lab, or you're not too sure yet?
I'm not too sure. I was looking at, DNA analyst was one of the ones that kept coming up, but I mean, I don't know. I fully am prepared for it to change.
Okay. And we'll talk about that regarding some degrees and things like that. So that's good. Okay, who else wants to be on the hot seat? And then I'll move on. Don't be shy.
I'll go. This is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. So right now I'm definitely actively seeking jobs, and I want to get my feet wet wherever I can. I have been applying for different law enforcement agencies because I would like to be a detective. I like the whole investigative process. So if there is an opening somewhere for a crime scene investigator or forensic specialist, or I recently applied for a coroner investigative trainee. So I'm definitely out there actively looking. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice, but I specialized in criminalistics. So yeah, I'm trying to see other avenues I can look at to find jobs posted, because I look at government jobs a lot too. And then I just recently started looking at ZipRecruiter, and then I have a LinkedIn, but I feel like it's all like retail related. So I'm really trying to still steer that over to the forensic science side and the criminal justice side. So I definitely need to work on that. Um, so
So
that's,
a little bit about that for all of you. And then when you're doing your LinkedIn and it's in one aspect, one field, and you need to transition to the other, you need to concentrate on promoting and writing what you're doing, your skill sets of the job you want to do. So for instance, for everybody tuning in, Sarah's a current student in our Forensic Science Academy class 2020. So for you, Sarah, and for all of you, you've had, and you know, Donna, you've had training as well. You want to do your LinkedIn profile for the specifics. So for example, I'm going to pick on Donna. We did fingerprint identification. So you're going to put that on there. So you're going to be listing that first, and then you're going to describe, you know, what you did. So that's how you transition that. You start transitioning it over to the training that you've done so far. And that's what you're going to put first, because you know, your employment history, if you look at it, you can rearrange the LinkedIn profile. So it will, in your case, in all of your cases, you will be focusing in on what you're doing now. So whatever training you're doing now. And then for Roberta, you know, she's postdoc for forensic toxicology. So she wants to find a postdoc position either in the United States, because she's open to universities here in the United States postdoc. So the question for Roberta is postdoc. Many positions generally don't require a PhD unless you're going to teach or you're going to head up a particular department within, let's say, a lab, a crime lab. So crime lab, forensic toxicology, you would expect to have individuals with not only master's degrees, but terminal degrees as well. So that's the question. Are you going to be teaching? So again, look at that when we get to that, because I get questions. Hey, Terry, you know, I have my 2-year, you know, I'm just finishing up my bachelor's. Should I get my master's? Should I get a terminal degree, which is a PhD or an MD? So we'll get to that. But let me go through all this. As I said, you want to start looking at positions that don't have the word forensic in it. There's a lot of positions out there, and I had told another student who's actually working, could be here today on the live chat, to look on Indeed and just write in the word investigator, and a lot of them popped up. So I encourage you not to just focus in on positions that have forensic, the word forensic in it, because whether you're driving an automatic in your Honda or the automatic in your Subaru, right? It's still an automatic car. It's just different models. So if you're applying to positions that require, again, forensics, investigative skills, that type of mindset, that type of methodology, that same thing is going to be applied to positions that require skills such as that, investigative positions that don't have the word forensic in it. So you have to kind of get out of that forensic mode. Like for instance, Donna, what other industries require individual to do fingerprints? There's a lot, and I will show it to you. So just hang tight.
I will.
So, you want to review job bulletins? I'm a big fan of job bulletins because they can give you lots of information, even closed job bulletins, meaning that the position has been closed. Because guess what? You can start looking at exactly what is going to be required for that position, okay? If the position requires 2 years of specialized training and you only have one, yeah, it's going to be challenging, right? If it says something like, well, it's preferred, but it's not required, but still go ahead and apply, right? So look at job bulletins because if any of you go the route of hiring a certified resume writer, you're going to provide that job bulletin to your resume writer so he or she can tailor your resume to that job bulletin. So earlier in this call, we were talking about, I think it was a forensic specialist, identification specialist versus a crime scene investigator, which it turns out to be, they're kind of the same. So if you have various job bulletins that have various titles, but they're really doing the same thing because each agency will have a different title, then the job bulletin can help you and help your resume to tailor your resume to that job bulletin. You'll find the requirements. If the requirement is that you need at least a 4-year degree and you only have a 2-year degree, well then unfortunately you can't apply, okay? So it can give you lots of information about what the job is all about. And I think we kind of all know that, but I always encourage students, look at job bulletins. And when you start applying, keep track of where you're applying to. Let me say that again. Keep track of where you're applying to, because if you're applying to multiple agencies, it's really easy to get confused. What you've sent, where you've sent it, to what agency, and where in the process are you at in that agency, okay? I also mentioned, ask for informational interviews wherever you can, especially, again, I will go back to LinkedIn. I'm a big fan of that. I don't get any kickbacks or any affiliate links or anything like that, but it's a good place to start if you don't know where to start. So that is something that you should consider. And for you, Beth, that's another thing for you specifically. If you're in biochemistry and you're not too sure where it will lead you, start reaching out to individuals that have that same type of background as you do and see what they're doing in the forensic world. Usually something with a hard science, usually individuals will end up working in a lab. It doesn't have to necessarily be a crime lab, but a lab nonetheless, because biochemistry is very, very specialized. But there have been people working in crime scene investigator with a specialized degree as well, and with a hard science. So don't think it can't be done, because it can. And it's one of those things that the agencies will say, you need a 4-year degree, but it may not specify of what type of degree. But let me get to that now, because I might forget. More and more agencies I've seen that they're getting more specific, meaning you need a criminal justice degree or forensic science emphasis, something of that. So again, those job bulletins can help you figure out exactly, do you even meet the minimum qualifications, all right? So here is the age-old problem. Even, starting off way back when I did, it was the same problem, but it was a lot easier to get into an agency. You could walk up and say, hey, my name is Terry. This is my, what I've done so far. I like to volunteer. And that's how I got into the corners. At the time they were accepting volunteers and then intern, and then you kind of just parlay it and get into it that way. But nowadays, it's so, the legalities of it. Sometimes I get asked the question, well, can't I just go shadow a crime scene investigator? No, because how would you like your crime scene to be potentially contaminated by an individual that hasn't been trained? Well, can't I just go into the coroner's office and kind of look? No, because it's the same thing. So as time has evolved, 2 things have come out of it. It's more restrictive, and 2, there's new forensic technologies and methods that are coming about. Because who would have thought 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, the use of DNA and forensic genealogy would be such a big thing. And that's where it is. It's big, all these cold cases. So because that's what it is. All right. So Donna asking, should you cancel or erase your current LinkedIn because yours is restarted? I wouldn't cancel it. I would modify it. So if everybody can see in the chat room, if you have a LinkedIn and it's geared for one thing, right, and you're transitioning into another, right, you want to sprinkle it with both, because here's the thing, you don't want to lose all those connections, all right, because connections are a big thing. You want to make sure that your network is filled with relative connections. Don't be like a Facebook person that, oh, I have a gazillion +1 friends, and you only know the +1, you don't know the gazillion, right? I'm not a big fan of social media proof because it doesn't do anything for your career. But professional proof on LinkedIn is a different story. So no, Donna, I would not suggest that at all. I would just modify it to start focusing on what you want to do. Okay. So here's the thing for the solution for experience. As I said before, you need to really dive deep into what other fields require blank, okay? What other fields require fingerprint experience? What other fields require investigative processes? What other fields require, I'll pick on forensic accounting because I kind of like that. What other fields require accounting, okay? There are so many disciplines now in forensic science. There's usually one for anything you could possibly imagine. So as I mentioned before, genealogy, accounting, engineering, of course, document writing, of course, crime scene investigation, photography, all these elements that go into it. Biometrics, which is personal identification using something that belongs to you, usually eye scan, of course, your fingerprint, things like that, your image, they scan you. I know where I work, we have a couple of areas that you have to get your iris scanned in order before you're allowed into this other particular area. So biometrics is a big thing. Something that's near and dear to my heart is animal abuse. People who do that to animals, I think they should be tried and convicted to the highest degree. And those are now laws that are being passed. So there's veterinary forensics, where veterinarians and animal-related positions are trained in the forensic aspect of investigations and evidence collection. And why? Because these cases are now coming to court. So I think you've seen it on videos and news and things like that, that people who abuse animals, not only domestic animals, but wildlife, as well as elephants. I'm a big elephant fan, for the tusks and things like that. So wildlife forensics is another big thing. So again, there's those industries out there that are becoming more and more reliant upon the forensics. And basically, what is forensics anyway? I didn't even ask any of you. What is forensics and why is this thing so important? What is it?
It's science and how it's applied to the law.
Exactly. And all of you should know that, because usually that's one of the questions that is asked in a forensic position. So forensics can be applied to anything, both civil situations as well as criminal investigations. So when we're talking about forensics as a whole, I think you can think of almost any industry that would use this forensic process. It's just applying science to the law. So if we take, let's say take the corporate world, right? People like to hide money, so they hire a forensic accountant. People get divorced and they want to hide money, forensic accountant. So I think you get my point. So dive deep, look at organizations, industry, anything that does require investigative processes. How can you get some training? Again, with COVID-19, it's been a little challenging for a lot of my business colleagues who offer specialized training to law enforcement agencies, because they've had to stop that. I know personally with my business for the Forensic Science Academy, we rely heavily on hands-on training. So how can you do that with COVID-19? We found a way. Donna, you were in it. Sarah, you were there too. So you just find that way in order to provide the hands-on training. And there's a lot of free training out there too. Has anybody discovered any of this free training? There's a lot. No? Has anybody attended a seminar lately?
I was doing training. This is Sarah, but I was doing paid training. So I was using Darren Dake's courses through the Death Investigation Academy. And then I was also doing a couple of other ones.
That's all right.
Through the Oliphant of our university, with like his name's Stephen Lampley.
Yes,
Yeah, so but those were all paid, so.
Yeah, those are good ones. I'll link these up so you guys can see when I'm done with this presentation. Those are really good ones as well. But if you go on YouTube, you'll find things there from past presentations. That's another source that is free. The NJS, I believe that's the NJS. That's another resource. I think another one I just registered for, and let me see if I can find it. I'll write myself a note and I can send it all to you for the free webinar. Because again, you want to show professional proof for that. And another thing is, and this is what I've told my past students, and again, for you, Donna, for fingerprints, get yourself a fingerprint kit. You want to be able to dust and lift and identify fingerprints until you're sick of it in your sleep. You can do it in your sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. And, for crime scene investigation, the same thing. You want to be able to collect evidence in such a manner that it's not contaminated. So again, this is one of those things that you have to kind of think outside of what you're looking at. How can I get related experience? Now, it's not paid experience, but still it's a related experience. But if you're going for a specialized, let's say, toxicology, something like that, that might be a little bit more difficult. But while you're in school, you've had so much training in the lab, as well as biochemistry too, that you should be able to write that obviously on your resume, and that should be one of your showcased skills for that. Now, a lot of agencies may not say, or may say, well, that's in school, what have you done in real life? And that's obviously a strong possibility. That's where you got to sell yourself, okay? That's what you have to sell yourself. In this day and age, with like I said, with the COVID, it's so difficult to get yourself out there in order to volunteer your time. That was a great way and I would always tell students, a great way to get your feet wet. Again, if you want to go into lab, volunteer at a private lab or in a hospital. But again, with COVID-19, it is so challenging, but you should still keep these things in mind, because hopefully our new norm will allow us to employ some of these strategies physically, right? Non-forensic fields using the processes that I described. So one of the greatest things is a healthcare fraud investigator. A lot of people are not very true, and they're using this COVID-19 situation to lie about certain things. For example, what comes to mind is a husband and wife. They're married, obviously. She goes missing. He tells his family members and her family members, well, she got sick. She's at the hospital. Nobody can see her. Again, she tested positive for COVID-19. And what do you think happened? What do you think? Anybody?
He killed her.
Yes. So healthcare fraud investigator. Another thing, this thing is coming up leaps and bounds. A COVID-19 trace program, contact trace investigator. You need to look into that. They'll train you for that. And again, it uses investigative skills, right? Corporate investigations. Some of you have been looking at the government entities for positions. Anybody in Southern California, there's a big company, and actually in San Diego, that they employ latent print and fingerprint examiners there. So look at the government entities. Surveillance investigators, private investigator. I like this. You guys shopping on Amazon, they use investigators too. Banking. So look at agencies or industries, companies that use investigative skills. And all you have to do is go on to Indeed and put in a keyword. And I said before, I suggested do investigations, okay? Do documentation, write that word documentation or whatever your keyword is. And I'm telling you, things will pop up. So the question is, well, Terri, why should I go apply for that position when I really want to stay or get into forensics? Well, here's the thing. You need to get experience in order to get into forensics, and you can't get into forensics unless you have experience. So it doesn't say that where you get this experience, they just want you to be experienced. I mean, it's just a crazy rule that we have, but it makes sense. So Donna, you can't get into a fingerprint position because you don't have any fingerprint experience. So start looking at other avenues, other ways that require fingerprints. And what are those ways? Can you think of any? What have you looked at?
I actually did get hired for rolling fingerprinting for the Archdiocese of Los Angeles.
Okay.
Because I figured, okay, that's an in.
Yes.
And but then after I got hired on the spot, but then later on they kind of changed up what I would be doing, and it was basically I would be driving to like Santa Barbara, like to go out there to do roller fingerprinting, and then come back all in one day.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought that wasn't worth it for the pay, because the pay was really bad.
Uh-huh.
And I would have done it had it not been for driving so far.
Okay, so you know that there's entities out there, industries out there that require that. There's also mobile fingerprint things.
Right.
Companies that will do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that sounded like. So that would be an in because you have some experience with that. So you need to follow through and see if you can find other industries, other companies that will employ that. That's what you've got to do.
Okay.
Because again, fingerprint is really a unique niche. It's not; those positions aren't as common as a crime scene investigator. It seems like all the agencies are looking for a crime scene investigator. So you got to, and again, we can talk off-site, offline, so I can help you parlay that into that. Also, another thing is, look at, again, use LinkedIn as your Google, okay? Use it. So what you're going to be putting in, and Donna, I'm just going to pick on you.
Okay.
And go, fingerprint, latent print, and see what's popping up, right? Who's popping up? And you start looking at what they're doing when what they did in the past. Because they had to get to their position somehow, some way, right? They didn't get hired because they look good. They're a good cook, they got there somehow, some way. All right. And all of you should be using that as your search engine, because there's so many opportunities out there. It's just you don't know it because we're just always concentrating on forensics. And I'll be honest with you, I did the exact same thing when I started. Oh, it's got to be forensics. I had one student that went through the program years ago. Something was in her background, and she just could not pass background. She couldn't. She had the qualifications. She had the education. She had the experience and the training because she went to our program, and she graduated from Cal State LA. But again, she made a boo-boo in her younger years, and that it followed her. I don't know what that boo-boo was, but it was big enough that she was not going to get hired, because if you failed backgrounds one way, what agencies, oftentimes it'll follow you. So that's not always the case, but if there's something big, it's obviously going to follow you. So long story short, she got hired. Mercury Car Insurance was insurance investigator, is still insurance investigator. She's been there, gosh, I think 15 years now as their lead investigator. Okay. It's still the same process. It just didn't have the word forensic in it. She's documenting, she's recording, she's diagramming, investigating, you know. Sometimes she does testify in court, right? But it just doesn't have forensics on it. So look at that. Real estate, courtroom, you know, or the courtroom and places here, you know, they require investigators too. So sometimes the investigator trainee, just start looking. Investigator, don't always just focus in on forensics, because sometimes it just doesn't come because the positions are there, but it's so saturated. There's a lot of people applying, not only domestically, but as we said before, internationally too. It's very common to have a couple of positions open and you have so many people applying. Let's say positions in Southern California and people applying from out of state. So as an insurance, I always use the insurance thing because this former student, she's still there doing what she's doing. And it was a transition for her because, again, she was focused on forensics, right? So just look at that. But again, use LinkedIn to your advantage. Here's another question I get. Hey, Terri, what is the best degree for a forensic job? Well, if I had that answer, I would give my trillions to all of you. There is no perfect degree. It really depends upon the forensic discipline you're going for. So, for example, you want to work in a crime lab, you're going to need a hard science, right? You need a hard science degree. Biology may not cut it. You need chemistry, biochem, something like that. So you need a hard science that parlays into and teaches you, exposes you to all that equipment that you need to use when you're in a crime lab. And then there's specialties, right? Toxicology, serology, DNA. That's another avenue of training in itself. So look at what position you want to go for. As a crime scene investigator, you may not need to have a hard science. I've had students who sociology, psychology degree, and now they're crime scene investigators. But the thing is that when you're completing your degree or starting off or you're in the middle, if you want to get into forensics, you do need science. Because as Sarah says, it's applying science to the law. So if you're straight criminal justice, you're going to need some science in there. So let me ask you, who's got what degrees? Those who have degrees, what are they in?
This is Alana. I have a biology degree with a minor in forensic science.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hi everyone. This is Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
I have a bachelor's of science in biotechnology and a minor in chemistry, and a master's of public health.
Okay. Let me see. Minor in chemistry. I love chemistry. What do you want to do?
That's a great question. So
Okay.
I'm currently a technical investigator
Okay.
for pharma medical devices.
Excellent.
So thank you for the last section. It was very helpful. And I think right now I'm leaning more on like the biomechanics or maybe like the forensics, looking at accidents or recreating. Also maybe like root cause analysis. That's something that in my current work I'm really fascinated with.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and no, Cynthia's not a plant. I didn't plant her in here, but see, a prime example, a fantastic example. There are other industries that need that investigator. Okay, there is from mechanical to, as I said before, insurance-wise, anything that requires that investigative skill set and that process. And I can't think of any industry that does not require that. There's always things that are failing, and there are things that affect people, and then people will have lawsuits, right? and then you need an investigator in order to figure out exactly what happened. So from industry, mechanical wise, to insurance, like I said before, I can't think of anything, any industry, and I've been thinking about it for a long time when I was putting this together. What industry? So if any of you guys can think of some, the food industry, because people want to do things to our food. There was cases back in the 80s. I'm feeling old now. That there was an individual that was poisoning or tainting Tylenol bottles, and that was a big case. So, you know, and they never caught that person. So there's so many things. So again, if during this presentation, if you pop out an industry, and let me see if they don't have any investigators or any type of dealings that require investigators, just put in the chat or say, Terry, I think I found one, okay? So there's no perfect thing. Who else has their degree, and in what? Criminal justice, okay. Sarah's got a, yeah, criminal justice, okay. So it just, depending upon, again, where you want to go will depend upon what type of degree you want. But again, that's not a guarantee. My first degree is in business, and I'm far from that. But I guess it served me well, because then I started a couple of businesses. So I can't say that, I wasted those 4 years, because I didn't. But again, that was not my ultimate goal for that. So there's not really one better degree than another, but if you're going to go in a lab, but make sure you have that hard science, because you're not going to be able to get into that into a lab setting with a criminal justice degree. And if you say, well, I really want to analyze the evidence and things like that, that's a role that a criminalist will do, because as a crime scene investigator, you're not really diving into like trace evidence or anything like that. It's more of fingerprints and maybe surface type comparisons, things like that. So it just depends. If you don't like science, but you want to get into diving into or processing evidence on a higher level, then something else for you. So yeah, so always look at that. Will having a degree alone get me a forensic job? No. No. Let me say that again. No. Nowadays, it takes more than just your degree. And if you don't have a degree, don't fret, because there's still avenues and industries that are willing to hire individuals that don't have a formal degree. Now, in my business, I have a couple of instructors that don't have a formal degree, but I'm not going to trade their 25 years of experience of doing something and they don't have a formal degree. But again, my business is small compared to corporations and things like that. Unfortunately, that's the way of the land. You can get a degree online if that's the route you want to take. I know when I got my master's, it was a hybrid, part online and part on site. So it can be done, but start also looking at industries and companies that don't require a formal degree, because a lot of places still want individuals that have the knowledge and the expertise for that. So alone, just having a degree alone. And speaking of degrees, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I had a student that is unable to get a job, can't find a job as a crime scene investigator, not here in Southern California, but in a different state. She was willing to get her PhD in forensic science. So again, I asked her, well, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to teach? No, I'm not going to teach. Then why would you do your PhD? So again, sometimes it takes you out of the market, out of the running of consideration, because agencies will think, hey, listen, this person has a PhD, are they going to be sticking around for very long? Okay. So I know that when I started my master's, I was applying to Walmart and Target because I wanted to get some extra money in order to start my master's. And once they found out that I had 2 bachelors, you know, the Walmart manager, so kind enough just to basically tell me, you're not going to get hired because, you know, you're not going to get hired. So then I took those off, and then I got hired as a receptionist because I wanted some extra money. I just wanted to work to get extra money for my master's. So look at that. You know, what is your PhD going to serve you? Okay. If you have aspirations as a postdoc and you're going to be doing research and things like that, then I say go for it, because that's what you're going to need. Okay, you're going to need that. But if you're going to do crime scene investigation, and it goes back to what? Your job bulletin, it goes back to that, then look at their requirements and see if that's even a master's is needed. So this one student that I was speaking to, as I said before, a couple of weeks ago, you know, she wants to get her PhD, and that's great. So that was on her, but again, she wants to be a crime scene investigator. Another thing is, I know this has come up before, your degree. We've had a couple of students that they have a degree in anthropology and in cultural anthropology and forensic anthropology. So again, what are you going to do with that? You need to have a backup plan, because I can't think of one agency that hires a forensic anthropologist full-time, not even the coroners in LA. It's more as a consultant basis. So you need to have a background. You need a backup plan. What are you going to do? Okay, because again, anthropology is completely different than an area that's focused on forensic science as a whole. There's master's programs, forensic science. I received mine from National University. This is by all means no plug, but they had concentrations on investigations as well as criminalistics. So you just have to kind of look at to see, is it going to help you in your career and then you fill in the blank. Is this going to help me in my career as a blah, blah, blah. So then the question is, well, Terri, I already have a degree, but it has nothing to do with forensic science, and I need to get some science in it. And I'm going to say, you're absolutely right, you do. Because if you have a criminal justice degree and you don't have anything that's specializing in some type of science, like Sarah's got a criminal justice, which she's specialized in criminalistics, that's fine, because they want to see the lab portion of that. But if it's just criminal justice, that's more aligned to policing and law enforcement and courtroom, you know, the judicial system. So you have to kind of look at that. Also, my crime scene investigators, those of you who are out there are aiming your sights on that, photography. Take some photography classes, because they'll love you for that. Okay, they'll love you for that. So that's my plug on that. So, you know, schooling is expensive these days. That's just what it is. But there are ways around it. You can take courses on Coursera, I think it's called Coursera, Udemy, things like that offer some classes that can transfer into a degree program. So have any of you taken any specialized courses in forensics? I know Darren Dake is one. I see a couple that have taken some on my end as well. I always like to bring forth any type of resources I can. I'm not here to say, oh, you can't go to Darren's classes, or y'all have to come to the Forensic Science Academy. It's not like that, because my goal is not that. My goal is to get you trained wherever you're at. So those of you who have your formal degree, did those degrees offer any type of courses within that degree, or was it just straight what you have to take for the degree? So what I'm saying is, I know for criminalistics they offer a lot of forensic related type classes, but has anybody taken classes outside of the formal degree that had to do with forensics?
This is Alana speaking. I did like a fingerprint class within the ELAC program for a certificate in that.
Oh, who did you have? Was that Christy?
I had, yeah, Christy and Tenario.
Oh, okay. Adriana?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Excellent. You know, they're former students of mine.
Yeah. They talk about you a lot.
It better be all good, you know. It better be all good. Yes, yes.
It
So,
is good.
yeah, it is really good. So, you know, and Adriana is an example of that because I think she has her degree in sociology from UCLA, I think, and then she took the academy
Yeah.
to Beverly Hills. So she's that. I knew her before she got married. I went to her wedding. So and then Chris, the same thing with Chris. I just felt so old. Forget that. Okay, so you took it at ELAC. Anybody that's in Southern California, East LA College has a program. That program was started by the original founder of the Forensic Science Academy, Dr. Janice Kavanaugh, but I know Dr. Kavanaugh is retiring or has retired. So that's a good program. So there's a lot of 2-year programs that are offering forensic related, specific related training. So you don't have to go through the whole thing. I know in San Diego they have one. I think in San Francisco they had one. Anybody else is taking classes outside of their formal education to help them? Yes?
Hi, my name is Erica.
Hi, Erica.
Hi. I have 2 masters in, one is in medical legal death investigation,
Okay.
and one is in major crime investigation from National University. I just transitioned to teaching, so I just took a forensic science, like a first-year teacher seminar on how to teach forensic science for the first year. So
is that what you want to stay in, is teaching?
No, actually no, but I live in New York, upstate New York.
Okay.
And I had breast cancer in 2018.
Okay.
And after my chemo, the doctor said I had to wait 1 year from my last chemo treatment.
Right.
Because forensics is, quote unquote dirty.
Yes,
and
it
so,
is.
Right. And so in the meantime, I thought, how can I still do forensics without risking my health? And so I started teaching. And then now with the COVID, my immune system is still technically still compromised, but no, it is not what I planned to do, but I wanted to stay at least to keep getting knowledge and stuff.
Yes. So and kudos to you. Thank you for going through that treatment. I'm glad that you're here, that you are a survivor. I love teaching. That's my background now. My PhD will be heavily influenced obviously in education, with a couple of specializations for that very reason, because I went the other way. I transitioned the other way into teaching. So
I think if I stayed in teaching, I want to do collegiate, because right now I'm doing high school.
Oh yes, I understand
I think
that.
I want to do collegiate if
Yes.
I stay into teaching.
Yes, I love the university level. I will not lie. I love the university level because I teach in a so I'm
not sure the high school level appreciates it. And so
I know. So yeah, I kind of steered clear from that. So I don't. I don't. It's all the university level for me. Anybody else taking any classes, anything like that? So again, Darren Dake's got some really great classes that are just focused on his the death investigation. So, and he has his podcast too. If you don't know that by now, I'm a big podcast lover. So he's cornertalk.com, and I just put it in there, cornertalk.com. So I've been a guest on his show a couple of times, and it's just geared for medical legal investigations. So that's one way to do it. Let me take a look, as we're kind of running to that 90-minute mark. Excuse me. This is what I was talking about, the job bulletins. So equivalent to completion of 2 years of college and a major in criminal justice. You see the list there, okay? So that's one avenue. And here's the other one: experience may be substituted if you have this, this, and that, okay? So you want to concentrate on major in criminal justice, law enforcement, criminology. And again, you can you can earn your 2-year degree completely online in one of those aspects: CJ, law enforcement, criminology, admin. But my advice to you is to get some science in there as well. Okay, you've got to get some science in there. And you're saying, hey, well, Terry, what's a science? Any type of forensic science course, anything that focuses on forensic science, that's what you need. If you don't have that and you just have a criminal justice degree, remember, as I said before, let me go back, it's related to law enforcement, okay? Administration of justice, that's all policing and judicial system, okay? So make sure that you have that science behind you. Otherwise, it's going to be more challenging than ever. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Okay, good.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to drink some water. All right. Professional organizations. I'm a big fan of this, and I am on the executive board of a forensic related organization, and we are working hard to finally offer student memberships. That's been a goal of mine and my business partner, Sherry Oriana, to offer that, and we can do that. There's a lot of other organizations that offer student membership. I encourage you to look at those because it shows professional proof. Well, Terry, what's professional proof? It will show agencies that you are serious about this career that you're applying to and for, whatever the position. It offers you training opportunities, networking. That's a big thing, networking, collaborative efforts if you're running into something. And also you can talk to the members about, how did you get here? What classes would you recommend? Can I volunteer? What books would you recommend I read? Who else can I speak to that could help me? All this, because you got to do an informational interview. Those of you who are still in school, do it now. Those of you who are out of school, not in any classes, you can still do this. These strategies, in a nutshell, I've been telling students for the past X amount of years. And Alana, when you talk to Adriana and Christy, they'll tell you the same thing that I told them way back when. I'm telling you, this stuff, as I call it, the strategies, you have to put them in place to give you a foundation and give you the advantage. Because again, you are going to be competing with individuals who are already in the field, and it's not impossible. So I don't want to hear you say, well, I'm too old and I don't have this. Don't go down that road. Don't go down that slippery slope, because it's not impossible. A good friend of mine, we went through the Forensic Science Academy together, and that's what I heard from her as we were working over a decedent. This was years ago. And I just finally asked her, well, how bad do you want it? I don't really want to hear you whining anymore. So long story short, she got hired as a crime scene investigator for City of Fullerton. And she basically worked her way up to become president for one of the organizations. And she's getting ready to retire soon. So it can be done, all right? Any of you members of any professional groups?
Yeah, currently I'm a part of a student membership for CSDIAI. So like
Excellent.
Yeah, I just jumped
Excellent.
in. So
yes. Yeah. So AC Brogdon is the president for it's the International Association for Identification, the California State Division. Those of you who are not in California, each state has its own division and each country has its own division, okay? So even if you're not into crime scene investigation, you should belong to the International Association for Identification. That is the most widely known forensic organization out there. And it is probably the best one to have on your resume. Anybody else have belong to any membership? Sarah, the IAI, yes, okay. California State or the parent, the parent body? No.
No, it's for California.
California State, okay. So those of you who don't, you need to, okay? You need to. It shows professional proof, And it's the thing for the biggest one. Let's see. The IAI is I'm going to put it in chatroom.org. The IAI, just go to that webpage and it will show you the state divisions as well as the international divisions. There's also, if you're in Southern California, there's SCAFO, which is, I'm an executive board member for that. But anybody can join that. It's just because now we're doing our meetings online. Our training meetings are online, so you can join that. Look for corners. There are some corner associations as well. And crime scene investigation. If you want to find a organization, you just look on it. You just look. I'm telling you, there's organizations for homicide detectives, organization for crime scene investigators, organization for crime analysts. There's an organization almost for anything, as well as an organization for those who teach forensic science. Just wanted you to know that, Erica. So, so there's a bunch of those things. So that shows professional proof. You've got to, look into that.
So Terri, this is Donna. I can join SCAFO now?
You can join SCAFO, yes. So send me an email and I will show you, tell you how to do it. Those who are in class 2020, we will be giving you that same information. Alana, I don't know if you are SCAFO, but it's going to be open to students. So
Okay, yeah, I'm not. So yeah,
it's good. It's good. Those of you who are not, again, in Southern California, don't fret because there's other organizations for whatever forensic discipline you want to head into. And don't discount some of these things that I've written down here. Facebook groups, and, search on Twitter if you guys are using social media to post, what your favorite recipe is or what your dog did. Use it to your advantage for looking for a job. Connect. There's agencies that have a social media director or manager posting things that their agency is doing. You should connect with them in a professional way. Please make sure whatever social media profile you're using, it is professional. Again, for LinkedIn, you want to contribute to the groups. You want to start asking questions. If you follow me, or even you go on there, you can see that people are posting articles and discussions and things like that. But social media is great, but as I said before, I was going to touch a little bit upon it. It can also ruin your career. So if you have things on there that are questionable, you have people on that you're associated with, whether it's acquaintance level or deep friendship, that are questionable and they're doing questionable things, such as drinking and driving, losing your composure while you're drinking and having a good time, the agencies are going to ask you, pull up your social media accounts, and there you go, okay? Don't do anything that would embarrass yourself or tank your reputation. It's not worth it, okay? Because it's just not. Sometimes you can't recover. And here's a story, and it is, I tell you these stories because they are true. So we were going to a conference, a professional conference, and this was a few years back. It was a coroner conference, and one of the students chose to indulge a little bit too much and got drunk and made a lasting impression, but in a negative way. And some of those people that were at that conference, guess what? They were on her oral board interview panel, and they remembered her. So I'm just going to say that. So don't, watch what you're posting, watch what you're doing. Overall, you've got to make sure that you're leading a productive, positive way. And if you're posting things that go against that, they'll find out, okay? They'll find out. And I love social media, but they'll find out. This is just a picture of one of our training events. Try to get as much training as you can, including relevant reading. Go to forensicmagazine.com. I think that's what it is, and it could be .org. They have a lot of articles on there, and you can find out what is going on in the industry, as well as new technology and cases, okay? Follow people who are leading the way, such as, forensic genealogy. Cece Moore, she's a great person to follow. She's got a show on ABC now. I know her way of my other friend who is friends with Nancy Grace. So yeah, get connected with people who you can ask questions. Yeah, I like CC Moore too. Ask questions of that, general questions, because you want to know, right? For forensic professional memberships, I went over that. And just a couple of pictures I just put in there, what we do at the Forensic Science Academy, and lots of fun job descriptions. Again, we kind of went over that. Look at those, study that. Do you qualify? If you don't, what do you have to do in order to qualify? Okay, so get some work. Social media, like I said before, can make you or break you. Just be careful what you're doing out there and who you're following. In this day and age, social media is being used to bring to light things that we didn't talk about. We didn't really know that it still existed. So when you're putting things out there, and these are just some of the things that I found online, and I just kind of copied and pasted. A former high school teacher, she tweeted about her partying lifestyle. I mean, you have to set the example. That's what I'm telling you. You have to be the role model for whoever's following you and however you're using social media. Okay, that's the bottom line. I'm sure you've heard some people that have called law enforcement. And one gentleman who was writing Black Lives Matter, an image on his own property, and he was called out, and the other two individuals were fired because of what they were posting and things like that. So you need to be careful out there and be mindful, as well as being respectful, and watch what you post, watch what you're replying to. Okay, that's the bottom line. Here I am. You can contact me on any of those methods. I think most of you know how to contact me. If not, you can find me there. There's my email address, Terri Armenta at forensicscienceacademy.org. I love questions. I love helping students. We're going to be doing another workshop, if you will, I think at the end of the month. I'm going to be heading that up, and we're just going to focus on questions, forensic questions that they can ask you, what to expect at forensic job interviews, and scenario questions, which is one of my favorites, and how to address those. So I said before, what is forensic science? All of you should know that. Any questions for that? Any questions?
I just had a general question.
Yes.
For like photography classes, do you recommend like general photography classes like locally, or like does it have to be specialized in any way?
No. So you want to be able to say, I know how to work a digital camera, and these things don't count. This, this doesn't, that doesn't count, because if you use that, right, at a crime scene, what becomes evidence? This thing. It's true. It's true. So if you can find a class local to you, again, for COVID-19, it's becoming a challenge, but you can find classes online. I know that Sherry and I are going to be doing a photography class, but that probably won't be till the latter part of the year. It can be done online. Find out where you can find a class. You want to make sure that you can manipulate your camera, because if there is a knife underneath the car, right, and the car's tires are casting a shadow, well, guess what? You're going to take a picture of the shadow. There might be a knife there, but your jurors aren't going to know that. So you need to know how to eliminate that shadow so you can capture not the shadow, but the evidence, right? So that type of thing. So try to focus in on that, because with an iPhone, you can't do that. It's not professional. And then you're, like I say, your phone becomes part of the evidence, and there you go. Then you won't, who memorizes phone numbers nowadays? I don't. So, if your camera and your phone goes away, then you're kind of SOL, right? So that's a great question. But yeah, find something that is local to you, and that specializes in digital camera. Okay. Digital camera, because they're going to ask, you're going to go for a crime scene physician, they're going to ask, wow, what's your history? What's your background on digital cameras? And you're going to say, I know how to do this, 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 and this.
Got it. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think I have a last question.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is about the fact that you were talking about the fingerprint kit. Like
Yes.
we have to like learn and exercise ourselves on the fingerprint. Like, is it the same for everybody? Like each position, like you have to learn about it? Because I actually took a course, like as I was saying, on the Death Investigation Academy on crime scene and all the stuff,
Uh-huh.
and he was saying that you have to when you go to a scene like an infant death, because he was also talking about death of young children, like you have to have this in your car, you have to have this and this. Like, do we actually have to learn about it and just go and buy a kit and all the stuff?
You
Do you
can,
have to have a kit, a
you
finger
can,
kit and a good camera or something like that?
well, so let me go back. So can you see, first of all, Darren Dake's site, the Death
Yeah.
Investigation Academy? Okay, so that's the one thing I would recommend. He has a lot of, here's what I'm talking about. If those of you who have taken, and I fully endorse it. It's a fantastic program. Okay, fantastic. So it's an online academy as well, and it takes it's $7.95. And I my apologies. Here we go. Here's your starting dates right here. Okay. So if you're going into death investigations, or even if you're not and you want some other professional proof and specialized training, then that's what I would do. Again, it's a fantastic program. And then going back to your question regarding kits, you can find so many kits. Fast Fingers. You can find lots of kits at some of these places that we order our supplies from. This is Searchy. There's one. Just put in fingerprint kit. I like MedTech Forensics. I think it's MedTech Forensics. We order a lot of our supplies for the Forensic Science Academy from them as well. Most of these places, if not all, have a basic fingerprint kit. Now, when I first started off, and this is no lie, I would host fingerprint parties, and I would invite all my closest friends, and all I wanted was their prints. I remember we had our favorite sandwiches, pizza, and I would have items out on the table. All they had to do was put their prints on it, and I had a person helping me, and then I would roll their prints, and then I would be able to identify their rolled prints to whatever object that they had. And that's how I got my experience. So I was able to say, hey, I have X amount of hours. So for Donna, for you, that you need to be proficient in that, okay? Because then you want to say, I'm proficient in identifying prints from, a light bulb, or, whatever that case would be. So those
Okay.
I would recommend. Okay,
Thank
you
you.
can get kits from here, any of these places, to start off. Now,
Okay.
when you're going out to a scene, you generally will have your basic supplies, depending upon the scene that you're doing. Obviously, you have your crime scene investigation supplies. That could mean you have a 360 camera, desk and lifting, powder and things like that. So placards, anything that's going to be supplied to you in your responding van or vehicle that you're going to be driving to get to that scene. So, yeah. And it's the same thing with the coroners here. They have their own transport, their own vehicle to get to the decedent scene, and then they have their own supply kit. For those of you in the academy, you'll get to see Christy McCracken come in, and she brings in her, I think it weighs 30 pounds of something she's lugging around of her own, of what her kit is. But she's a coroner investigator, so it's completely different in some aspects than a crime scene investigator. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Anything else that I can help you with? Let me look at the chat. No, I think. Yeah. anyway, I want to wrap this up. We're almost at a quarter till. Thank you so much for being attentive and attending. And I hope these strategies help you at least lay a foundation that you can start and continue with not only your training, but applying and successfully getting a position. And if you're still having those challenges, still meeting some obstacles, please reach out to me. I'm really here to help, and I really do mean it. Truly, I do. I'm available to chat with you. If you need to schedule a call, we can do a Zoom, whatever it's going to take that I can help you. If I don't have the resources, then I will help you find them. Okay, I'm very passionate about that. Anyway, that ends today's session. Again, thank you for spending your time. I will be sending some links to you if you don't mind. So some of the things that we chatted about. Thank you everybody for putting those things in the chat room. And then I will send you a PDF of this presentation. Okay. Please, everybody, stay well, stay safe. Some of you I will see this weekend at the Forensic Science Academy. Hopefully, I will see all of you in our next online training, which will be on June 27th, and that focuses on forensic job questions, and that fee is $20. So if you will, I'll just send the link to everybody, okay? All right, thank you, and hopefully I will see and read your names at a future date.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Terri.
Okay.
All right, thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay.
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.